Jason Cole stood quietly among the gathered soldiers, his arms folded across his chest, surveying the alien amphitheater with a calm, measured gaze. Around him, members of a dozen different species conversed in low, condescending tones. He caught snippets, fragile, slow, undisciplined, words spoken without fear of being overheard, because in their minds, the humans were already defeated. A figure approached, massive, towering at over 8 feet, muscles rippling beneath armor that looked grown rather than forged. The Vatar Enforcer, renowned across systems for their strength and ruthlessness, stopped before Jason with a sneer curling his lip. His 4 arms flexed, and the crowd quieted, anticipation thick in the air. Jason didn't move. His breathing steady, his mind focused. Centuries of human evolution, of brutal training, sharpened instincts to a razor's edge. He let the alien come to him. Without a word, the Vatar struck. An open-handed slap, faster than most would expect from something so large, crashed against Jason's face. His head snapped to the side, his body rocked backward a step. A murmur of laughter rippled through the alien audience. Jason licked a drop of blood from his lip and straightened. His posture relaxed, hands still at his sides. No anger in his expression, only calculation. He stared into the Vatar's gleaming black eyes and spoke in a voice low and steady. 3 seconds. That's all you get. The Vatar, misunderstanding the warning for bravado, surged forward, intending to finish the display. To crush human pride under his heel before the eyes of 100 witnesses. Jason moved first. 1 second. Jason stepped inside the alien's reach, angling his body to avoid a clumsy attempt at a grab. His left hand latched onto the Vatar's nearest wrist, fingers locking like a vice. 2 seconds. Jason shifted his weight, pulled with a calculated snap. The alien's balance, reliant on size and brute strength rather than finesse, failed instantly. Momentum betrayed him. Jason's boot caught the inside of the Vatar's ankle, sending the massive creature tumbling forward. 3 seconds. Jason twisted and dropped, using the alien's own momentum to slam him into the ground. In one fluid motion, he pinned the Vatar's primary arms behind his back, wrenching joints in ways they were never meant to move. His knee pressed into the alien's shoulder blades, immobilizing him completely. A stunned silence spread. The mighty Vatar Enforcer, champion of dozens of campaigns, lay squirming under the weight of a human not even half his mass. A sound broke the stillness, a guttural, pained whimper. Jason leaned down, voice barely above a whisper. Want to tap out? Or should I keep introducing you to Earth's hospitality? The Vatar shuddered, emitting a series of desperate noises that even the universal translators struggled to categorize. Jason heard the words anyway, because surrender sounds the same in every language. Mercy, please, mercy. Jason released the hold casually, rising to his feet as if he'd done nothing more strenuous than a morning stretch. He adjusted the cuffs of his uniform, dusted an imaginary speck from his shoulder, and turned his back on the fallen warrior without a second glance. Around the arena, the gathered aliens stood frozen. The laughter had evaporated, replaced by a heavy, stunned quiet. Where once had been amusement, now there was unease. Calculations shifted behind alien eyes. Jason walked back toward the human contingent, his steps unhurried. His fellow SEALs watched him approach with the faintest of smirks playing at the corners of their mouths. No need for words. They all understood. This wasn't just a sparring match. This wasn't about pride. This was a message. Humans might be new to the galactic scene. They might be physically smaller, technologically behind in some ways. But they were not to be dismissed. They were not to be insulted. Jason caught the eye of one of the Vatar commanders across the arena. The alien flinched, ever so slightly, before looking away. Good. Let them feel it. Let them remember it. Jason allowed himself a small, private smile as he rejoined his team. 1 slap. 3 seconds. That's all it had taken to rewrite the narrative. And humanity was just getting started. The Vatar lay groaning in the dirt, the proud warrior reduced to little more than a crumpled heap. Jason didn't spare him another glance. He had already made his point, but the lesson was only just beginning to spread. The assembled officers whispered among themselves, disbelief coloring every word. In their calculations, humans were supposed to lose. This was a showcase of dominance, a way to fold the newcomers into the galactic hierarchy without open war. Instead, one human had dismantled their best soldier in less time than it took to blink. Jason stood at ease, relaxed but ready, the years of relentless training woven into every fiber of his being. His instructors had taught him that battles were won long before the first strike. You observe, you wait, you strike where it matters, not with brute force, but with precision. The Vatar, humiliated beyond recovery, struggled to rise. His secondary arms clawed at the ground, his breath rasping, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had fought apex predators on 10 different worlds. He had crushed armored enemies in single blows. Yet against Jason, all that strength had meant nothing. Jason had seen the opening the moment the alien lunged, a wide stance, a center of gravity too high, a reliance on power instead of technique. In another world, the Vatar would have been an unbeatable titan. In Jason's world, he was just another target. The alien made a sound halfway between a snarl and a sob. He lunged again, desperate to reclaim some fragment of his shattered pride. Jason sidestepped the charge with contemptuous ease, grabbed the nearest wrist, and twisted. The Vatar's knees buckled as pain shot up his arm. Jason could have ended it there, could have snapped bones or ruptured tendons. Instead, he shoved the alien backward with a flick of his wrist. The message was clear. I am letting you stand. I choose whether you fall. The other aliens watched with new eyes. They had seen the power of humanity, and it was not in muscle or size. It was in adaptability, in speed, in cold, ruthless efficiency honed by countless wars and struggles. Humans had evolved not to dominate their environments with strength, but to outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast them. The trainers overseeing the match exchanged nervous glances. This wasn't going according to protocol. They had expected to put the humans in their place. Instead, the humans had exposed a deep, dangerous truth. Jason's team knew it too. They stood in a loose formation, faces impassive, but their posture radiated readiness. If needed, they could turn this entire facility upside down. Years of black ops, hostage rescues, insurgency training, it wasn't about fighting fair. It was about winning. Jason circled the Vatar slowly, giving him every opportunity to surrender with dignity. The alien refused, pride outweighing sense, and lashed out again. Jason caught the blow on his forearm, absorbing the force, and delivered a lightning-quick jab to a nerve cluster beneath the alien's armpit. The Vatar froze, paralyzed momentarily by the precise strike. There was no ceremony in what Jason did next. No flourish, no grandstanding. He simply stepped forward, swept the Vatar's legs with brutal efficiency, and dropped him flat on his back. Dust puffed up around the fallen warrior as he gasped for air. A single word, spoken quietly, reached the ears of the gathered crowd. Enough. The Vatar did not argue. His primary arms splayed wide, palms up, the universal sign of surrender. Jason nodded once, then turned his back without fear. He knew the lesson had been delivered far more effectively than any speech. Around the arena, the dynamic had shifted. Humans were no longer curiosities. They were no longer amusing primitives. They were a threat, precise, unpredictable, and entirely ungovernable by the usual galactic measures of power. Jason rejoined his team, feeling the weight of 100 alien stares pressing against his back. It wasn't hatred he felt from them. Not yet. It was something older, more primal. Fear. And fear, Jason knew, was the first step to respect. In the coming days, rumors would spread. Stories would grow in the telling. They would say a human defeated a Vatar with his bare hands. They would say the human moved faster than sight. They would say he fought like a creature possessed. Jason didn't care about the stories. He hadn't fought for fame or glory. He fought because that's what humans did when challenged. They adapted. They overcame. The galaxy had been warned. Whether they chose to listen was their problem. For Jason Cole, it was just another day on duty. Whispers became reports, and reports became alarms. The footage of Jason's effortless dominance traveled faster than any official communique. Within hours, commandants and diplomats across multiple systems reviewed the sparring match in grim silence. The plan to humble humanity had backfired spectacularly, and now every major power in the Galactic Assembly was asking the same question. What else could these humans do? Inside the administrative chambers, military strategists gathered behind closed doors, speaking in low, urgent tones. Some argued that the display was an anomaly, a fluke of one exceptionally trained individual. Others weren't so sure. Intelligence reports suggested that Jason Cole was not unique among his kind. He was a product of Earth's Special Forces, an organization that prided itself on producing soldiers who could operate behind enemy lines with minimal support, adapting and thriving in conditions that would break others. That reality unsettled the Assembly's senior leadership far more than Jason's physical prowess. If even a fraction of humanity's population could be trained to fight like him, any assumptions of dominance the older civilizations held would collapse. Amid the growing unease, diplomatic channels flared to life. Formal apologies were drafted to cover the insult of the slap. Offers of cultural exchanges, joint training exercises, and economic partnerships flooded the human embassy. Behind every olive branch was a calculation. Better to have humans as unpredictable allies than as unknowable enemies. Not every faction agreed. In the shadowed corridors of power, more sinister conversations took place. If humanity could not be contained through diplomacy, other options had to be considered. Contingency plans were drafted, quiet operations plotted. The more cautious leaders urged patience, warning that an overt move against humanity could trigger the very war they sought to avoid. Jason himself remained unaware of the political maelstrom he had unleashed. He debriefed with his unit in the usual manner, filling out after-action reports, conducting gear inspections, and maintaining readiness. For the SEALs, it was business as usual. The galaxy, however, had moved past business as usual the moment the Viator had begged for mercy. The alien recruits on base shifted their behavior in subtle but telling ways. Where once they had dismissed the humans as amusing or quaint, now they observed them from a distance, wary. The casual bravado that had filled the air before the match was gone, replaced with a careful respect. No more taunts, no more smirks. When Jason passed, conversations quieted. When his team entered a training room, aliens found reasons to leave. It wasn't hatred they felt yet. It was caution born from uncertainty. Humanity had disrupted the established pecking order without even realizing it. Reports from distant sectors began mentioning incidents of human soldiers outperforming expectations during joint missions. Small teams of Earth's operators outmaneuvered larger, better-equipped alien forces during exercises designed to test cooperation. Their tactics were fluid, decentralized, and terrifyingly effective. Commanders of veteran galactic armies struggled to adapt to this new variable. They were used to thinking in rigid doctrines, hierarchies, and predictable strategies. Humans were something else entirely. Chaos wrapped in discipline, aggression tempered by ingenuity. At a high-level summit convened to discuss the human question, delegates debated for hours without reaching consensus. Some advocated immediate efforts to integrate humans fully into the assembly structures, offering them prestigious positions and influence to tether them diplomatically. Others, more fearful, argued for isolation strategies, limit human access to technology, restrict their expansion into new territories, ensure they remain small and manageable. A few, the most short-sighted, whispered of preemptive strikes, of containment through force. But even suggesting open conflict with humanity felt reckless. The footage of Jason dropping a Viator in 3 seconds played on a loop in their minds, a stark reminder that strength alone would not guarantee victory. Meanwhile, human leadership observed these developments with keen interest. They had always known that Earth's arrival on the galactic stage would be disruptive. Their history was written in conquest and adaptation. They had survived ice ages, global wars, and internal strife that would have shattered other species. Now they stood on the threshold of a new era, and they weren't coming with apologies or subservience. They came as equals, or better. Jason received a commendation from his superiors, a simple acknowledgement of his actions. There were no celebrations, no media briefings. Humanity understood the value of underestimation. Let the galaxy wonder. Let them overthink. Fear born from uncertainty was a powerful weapon, and Jason had wielded it without even trying. What began as a simple demonstration had evolved into a strategic shift. Old alliances reconsidered their positions. Emerging factions looked to Earth for guidance, curious about these unpredictable newcomers. Rivals scrambled to adjust their strategies, aware that they were dealing with a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Jason continued his routine, unaware that in a matter of minutes, he had changed humanity's future among the stars forever. Earth's diplomats moved carefully in the days following Jason's encounter. Every conversation, every agreement was weighed against the new perception that humans were not only resilient but dangerous. They accepted trade deals, technical exchanges, and cultural invitations, always with polite smiles and humble words. Beneath the surface, Earth strategists cataloged every new contact, noting potential allies and hidden threats. Jason's victory remained unspoken officially, but among soldiers and officers of every species, it became an unofficial doctrine. Do not underestimate the humans. Training programs across the galaxy quietly updated their scenarios to include human opponents, labeled as asymmetric threats. Entire think tanks emerged dedicated to studying Earth's military history, trying to decode the mindset that produced warriors who treated even overwhelming odds as merely another puzzle to solve. Despite their growing reputation, humanity resisted calls to flaunt its strength. There were no military parades, no arrogant speeches. Instead, Earth presented itself as a willing partner, eager to contribute, slow to boast. This contrast between quiet demeanor and undeniable capability only deepened the galaxy's unease. Some younger civilizations admired humans, seeing in them the spirit they had lost after centuries of comfortable stagnation. Others viewed them with suspicion, worried that the newcomers would disrupt a carefully maintained balance of power. A few plotted quietly, believing they could contain humanity through careful manipulation or strategic isolation. They were wrong. Human adaptability extended beyond the battlefield. Earth scientists and engineers quickly absorbed alien technologies, finding flaws and improvements that others had missed for generations. Their diplomats learned the nuances of galactic protocol, understanding when to follow tradition and when to ignore it without causing offense. Their merchants found gaps in supply chains and exploited them ruthlessly, establishing footholds in markets previously thought impenetrable. The galaxy, so used to slow shifts and cautious diplomacy, struggled to keep pace with the newcomers who treated obstacles as invitations. While others debated, humanity acted. While others hesitated, humanity moved forward. Jason returned to training, leading newer units in preparation for inevitable deployment. He cared little for the political ripples he had caused. His mission remained the same: readiness, adaptability, and execution. Every new recruit he trained carried a piece of that philosophy into the wider galaxy. As more human teams deployed alongside alien forces, their reputation only grew. Stories of impossible rescues, brilliant ambushes, and last-stand victories multiplied. Each tale painted a clearer picture. Humans didn't fight fair, they fought to win. Some assembly members tried to slow Earth's rise through bureaucratic obstacles. Regulations were tightened, trade restrictions applied selectively, travel permissions delayed. It didn't matter. Humanity moved around the barriers, adapted to the restrictions, found loopholes where none seemed to exist. The oldest species, those who had built their empires over millennia, watched uneasily. They recognized the signs from their own pasts, the hunger, the drive, the refusal to accept limits. They saw in humanity a reflection of their younger selves, untempered by centuries of luxury and complacency. It was already too late to stop them. Humanity wasn't seeking conquest through fleets or invasions. They were winning through reputation, through myth, through relentless proof that they could succeed where others failed. Every encounter with them forced a recalculation. Every alliance they formed shifted the balance a little more in their favor. Jason's victory had not just embarrassed a Vatar warrior. It had revealed a flaw in the galaxy's assumptions. Strength alone was not enough. Tradition alone could not guarantee dominance. In a universe where complacency had become the norm, humanity thrived by refusing to play by outdated rules. No one declared Earth a major power. There were no ceremonies, no official recognition. But everyone knew. In strategy sessions, in council meetings, in whispered conversations, the question was no longer whether humans could be controlled. It was how best to survive their inevitable rise. Jason led another training exercise, silently correcting a recruit's footwork, tightening a grappling hold, perfecting a strike. He didn't need to hear the rumors to know the truth. He could feel in the way aliens deferred slightly more, in the subtle tension when he entered a room. Respect wasn't granted in the galaxy. It was taken, earned through blood, precision, and resolve. Jason had taken it in 3 seconds. Humanity would take the future the same way. Unasked, unstoppable, inevitable. The galaxy had been warned. Now it would have to adapt or be left behind.